What up, Scoops? Dre here. And after weeks away, kiss stealing, wheel dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, she's finally back! My partner, the little big boss, the first lady, and our Scooby Queen, Alex Keller!
Great to be back with you.
Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much for that intro. Seriously, it was not the same.
We love Haley and Jake, but there's a reason why the saying, the band is back together, exists.
Back together again.
We missed you.
Thank you. I missed you and the Scooby Gang.
Yes.
I saw your comments. I'm glad the feeling of love is mutual. Just really, I missed you. It was not the same these past 2 weeks.
Yeah, you're welcome, Scoops.
And
the Queen is back!
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, seriously, that introduction was everything I could have ever hoped for. And to celebrate my epic return, we are doing a countdown of every movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's right. We're going to be counting down 1 through 18, our favorite Marvel films. Obviously, if you disagree with us, especially, leave your list down in the comments below. But here we go. The MCU.
Just in time for Infinity War.
That's right. Let's light this candle.
Okay.
All right, Scoops. Like we said, we're going to count this mess down 10 years. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Hemsworth, Kevin Feige, the powerhouses, pillars of the MCU, if you will. Alex, what do we have at number 18, our least favorite MCU movie?
So, number 18, we have Thor: The Dark World.
Woo.
So, it's at the bottom of the list for a reason.
Sure.
It's not very great.
No.
The comedy was strained in this film. You could definitely see that there wasn't much chemistry between Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth. Overall, it was just not a very great Marvel film.
And like you said about Natalie Portman, you could tell the whole movie, she was famously behind the scenes trying to get out of her contract, just didn't feel the vibe of the MCU, and this felt less of a Thor characterization and more of just a setup for another Infinity Stone, which in this one was Malekith and the Reality Stone. The less said about this, sort of the better.
Yeah, so that takes us to number 17.
Iron Man 2. Now, in Iron Man 2, our problem with this one was not... I know a lot of people hate this movie. We don't hate it. We just understand... a bit lackluster, I'll say. Mickey Rourke, I feel as though had the potential to be a great villain. I feel as though he was watered down. It was too many cooks in the kitchen as far as having Sam Rockwell playing Justin Hammer. And ultimately, it was almost a story of Tony Stark basically trying to not die as opposed to a true superhero tale. Not for me.
Thor. So, the first in the Thor series. He's just taking himself too seriously in this film. He hasn't really found his voice again. It just was pretty lackluster.
Yeah, it's kind of a generic hero's tale as far as like I'm this all-powerful hero like Hercules or King Arthur. Directed by Kenneth Branagh, I feel as though he went very sort of like highbrow with it. He's famously directed a lot of Shakespeare movies, but as we find later on, they're gonna find more of Thor's voice because Thor, dealing with the fact that he's a space god from Asgard, should be played as a comedy. More on that later.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're getting there.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
No, sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Iron Man 3 makes our number 15 spot.
Yeah, it does.
So, a little step up from Iron Man 2.
Slight.
We had more of Tony Stark in this film. It was super action-packed. It was fun to watch. A pseudo-sequel to the Avengers, but still not up in the high list of the Marvel
Exactly.
films.
Like you said, this was the first solo movie after the Avengers big team-up, but the problem with this, We have a lot of Tony Stark and Rhodey in this movie, directed by Shane Black, who wrote movies such as Lethal Weapon. This movie basically is an 80s buddy cop film, and that's great if you're doing Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, but for his Marvel superhero film, no, I would like to have seen more of the heroes in their costume.
Agreed.
All right. Avengers Age of Ultron comes in at number 14. Not a terrible movie, but seriously a lackluster disappointment compared to the epicness, history-making film that was the first Avengers. Didn't love all of the twists and turns in the movie, the bad guy especially, but I do love the fact that this movie at least introduced Scarlet Witch and the Vision, which set up their love story. If you were a eagle-eyed comic book fan, you knew it was coming.
Incredible Hulk comes in at number 13. So, I mean, I loved this movie. It gave you all the feels. And the Incredible Hulk is an anti-hero. And it's equal parts silly, but equal parts dark. And it's just, like, exciting to see him, Bruce Banner, go on that adventure of, like, trying to find himself.
Yeah, a lot of people like to crap on the Incredible Hulk movie. I personally don't understand why. I thought Edward Norton was a great Bruce Banner, no matter how difficult he might have been behind the scenes. Liv Tyler brought, I thought, the softness and humanity to a Betty Ross, someone who would, like, be able to soothe the gentle giant. And they even brought back in Civil War Thunderbolt Ross, played by William Hurt. I mean, again, this movie isn't as bad as people like to say online. If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you have seen it, watch it again. I think you'll have a better appreciation for it. Captain America, the First Avenger, hits number 12. Again, early Marvel, which means they had similar problems in those first few films, which was the villain, which disappointed me because it's Red Skull. Red Skull is supposed to be Captain America's Joker. He's pretty much an evil super Nazi. How can you make that guy not compelling? But in this one, he just served the purpose. He was there essentially as a MacGuffin to find the Tesseract, which we find out later is the Space Stone. But we didn't know it back then. Such early days in the Marvel MCU.
Yeah, you know what? You have to give them a pass for that. It was early.
They were figuring out their way, finding their footing.
Exactly. And also, you can't ignore the fact that this was a time period piece.
Sure.
I love a good time period piece. It like really puts you in that setting. And also, it gives the backstory of Captain America, who is the moral compass of the MCU.
Absolutely.
So that's what I really liked about it. But again, problems with the villain. It was early days. We have Ant-Man at number 11. So I was so pleasantly surprised when I saw this. Paul Rudd makes a great Ant-Man. I don't think they could have done a better casting job with this because, you know, he's funny and charming and goofy, and that's like Ant-Man is kind of just getting his footing.
Yes.
He's new to his superhero powers. And also got me excited for Ant-Man and the Wasp. It just kind of keeps the Marvel Universe running along.
The thing I loved about Ant-Man is the fact that Marvel, I think at this point, realized they need to go outside the box of just standard origin story, bad guy wants to take over the world, punch, 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 comes to a dramatic climax at the end. So this one, it was their first foray into other genres. This one was a comedy and a heist film, and I think they pulled off both beautifully. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 hits the number 10 spot. I mean,
how can you not love it?
How can you not love it? Now, I know that the plot was a little weak. Structurally speaking, it was not nearly as strong as the first Guardians of the Galaxy. This one was a little clunky with Ego coming out of nowhere and basically saying that, like, he wants to take over the entire universe by planting his seeds everywhere. The plot was sort of silly and stupid, but the reason why this movie works so well is because you just love the characters. I look at Guardians of the Galaxy like a really good sitcom where I don't care if they were just hanging out at a Starbucks for 2 hours. I just want to see Star-Lord, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, Groot, and now Mantis just hang out and be ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly what you said. You're not really watching it for the plot. You're watching it for the characters because, first of all, Baby Groot is the cutest thing that you've ever seen.
Come on.
And second of all, the relationship between Star-Lord and Gamora is just like, it gives you that classic, are they, aren't they? When are they going to hook up? And of course,
the standard Sam and Diane, will they, won't they? Yes.
Exactly.
Every TV show that has a lead guy and girl follows this formula.
Yes.
Yeah.
And obviously they keep doing it because we love it. We love to see, are they going to hook up or not?
Yes.
And you know, all the 80s nostalgia you love.
Hasselhoff, Pac-Man.
You stole the words out of my mouth, Andre.
See, that's because you're back. We're in sync.
We are.
Yeah, and special shout out to introducing Adam Warlock, who plays a big role in the Marvel Cosmic Universe.
SpiderMan Homecoming comes in at number 9.
Yes.
I love what they did with this film. We got to see Spider-Man as a teenager. It was super cute, and it was also like you could tell.
And not a 35-year-old playing a teenager like Tobey Maguire. Exactly. A real kid who looks like a kid.
A real teenager. And also, like, it was very current. Like, I liked how you knew that it was filmed in the year 2017.
Yes.
And then also we had Iron Man mentoring Spider-Man, which was great to see. And it was funny to see him in that role because you could tell he wasn't super comfortable, ready to be a dad.
No.
Like, especially in that scene, he's like, we're not hugging yet. Yeah. We're not at that level.
Get out.
Yeah. So it was just like it was a really fun Spider-Man movie.
Totally with you. And I love the fact that they introduced like a lot of new concepts from the books into the MCU with this film. Obviously, they pulled a lot from the Ultimate Universe with Ned Leeds being his man in the chair. In the Ultimate Universe, he's known as Genki. Spider-Man is down with the Brown. Yes. Get some, Spider-Son.
Always a win.
Always a win. We will always support that decision. And things like Marvel, this was the first film where they started to turn the corner on their villains. The Vulture, played by Michael Keaton. He wasn't a megalomaniac. He wasn't trying to take over the world. He wasn't trying to like find some ancient alien artifact. He was just a guy trying to provide for his family, and he did that by building a badass mech wings and basically robbing Stark, which actually was a really cool way to talk about how the current climate we're living in, with like the little guy gets shat on by the big guy, and sometimes the little guy is like, you know what, big Wall Street.
It's a Robin Hood situation.
It's Robin Hood situation, except, you know, you kind of understood where Vulture is coming from, even though he's doing awful, terrible things.
Yeah, kind of like Killmonger in Black Panther, you understand. We'll
more
get
on
to
that later.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, we'll on that later, yeah.
Okay.
Doctor Strange lands at number 8, and this movie was the first one. I'm nerding out right now just thinking about it. I'm going Seinfeld. You hear it in the voice. I'm going Seinfeld. This movie introduced the concept of not only magic, but the multiverse into the MCU.
Yeah, I mean, this movie was just so cool. It was the first of, like, its kind for Marvel to have magic, not just superpowers. Like, to have him basically casting spells and seeing him go into, like, different parallel universes was really cool. And also, I just love Doctor Strange's character because, you know, he was, like, a doctor that got hurt, and then he goes asking for help, but he's still arrogant.
Yeah.
Like, he has that kind of Tony Stark
It's magic
vibe.
Tony Stark.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's all. That's really what it is. Even down to awesome facial hair bros.
Right. Except he's got a little salt and pepper.
Yeah, he's got a little gray in it. Yeah.
Captain America Winter Soldier comes in at number 7. Obviously, we love anytime we get to see Captain America.
Come on.
He is, like I said, the moral compass. And I loved this movie because we got to see him adjusting to modern times.
Yeah.
After he had been back in the day. What was it? In the 40s.
The 40s.
The 40s.
World War II, yeah.
Yes. So we get to see
He's
him.
old. He's like 90 years old.
I know, but still young and beautiful.
Yes. The reason why I love this movie is because, for me personally, obviously, once again, they started to up the game on their villains. You had Alexander Pierce, who isn't like a standard costume villain. Robert Redford, he just plays like an evil government manipulator. But again, shades of gray. He doesn't think he's evil. He genuinely thinks everything he's doing is for the betterment of the world. Add to that the fact that you add Captain America's partner from the comics outside of Bucky, Falcon, played by Anthony Mackie.
Like even though he's like the perfection, the perfect guy, like he's not doing it for the purpose of like the glory of being a superhero.
Right. He's a decent person, and I think in the times we live in right now, we kind of look to people, even if they're fictional, who do the right thing when they don't have to. Thor Ragnarok hits number 6. I mean, come on. You've seen it. If you're watching this channel, I'm assuming you've seen Thor Ragnarok.
All we can say is thank you.
Oh, thank you.
For finally making Thor funny.
Yes, as we said in the other two Thor movies we just did, I feel like they didn't have a footing on him, or the footing they had was the wrong one. I feel like they were trying to make him sort of like this epic Robin Hood, King Arthur type hero, which it's a story about a beach blonde Norse god in outer space who carries around a massive hammer and like should have rock music playing behind him at all times. It's a comedy. It's a ridiculous character.
Well, I remember when we did the trailer reaction, I was like a little skeptical. I was like, But then when I actually saw it, it was just, first of all, they made him hilarious.
Yes.
You could tell it was not your dad's Thor when they opened up with him subtly addressing the audience.
Yes.
And he's just like hanging in like the wire. You're
he's
like, okay.
With Serta, he's like, wait, I'm turning around 1 second.
I'm like, okay, they finally nailed his character.
You got Korg there as comic relief. You finally get Loki, who has a legit character arc, which you never really had in any other movies. Like, badass female villain in Hela.
I was just gonna say that. Like, she is one of my favorite villains. I love anytime we get a badass woman as a villain because there's so many male villains.
Absolutely. And Marvel's first, not only one of their best villains, but their first female villain. Depth.
Like,
you understood her purpose.
Again, that's what you said about they're getting better with their villains.
Yes.
Like, you understand that there's a reason. They're not just trying to take over the world for the hell of it. Iron Man coming in at number 5.
What?
Okay. So this basically sets up everything we've been talking about for the last 10 years.
Yes.
Our first introduction to Tony Stark, which you can't not love him. I mean, you can hate him a little bit, to be honest.
He can be a dick sometimes.
It's so cool. Like, you just have this super rich guy that has all of this power and makes insane weapons.
Come on.
Like, it's Iron Man.
And I loved seeing the progression of, again, back in the day, Ironmonger was a very bland, basic villain played by Jeff Bridges. Oh my God. It's so dope to see where we've come in a decade. I remember in the theater seeing the first Iron Man with one of my best friends, and it's a movie about a guy who takes on basically Middle Eastern terrorists. That movie is, except for him wearing an iron suit, it could have been like Black Hawk Down or something. To start from that to 10 years later.
Version.
Yeah, to start from that to the point where 10 years later he's fighting a giant purple alien space god. We've come a long way. Thank you, MCU. Captain America Civil War lands at number 4. What needs to be said about this movie? First, this is the adaptation of the comic book storyline, but except instead of superheroes revealing their secret identities, because that's not really a thing in the MCU, this is about registration. The brilliance in the writing, because again, when we first started off 8 years prior to this, you would have thought Captain America would have been on team government and Tony Stark would have been, no, people need to do it for themselves. But after 8 years of mistakes and foibles and Tony Stark building Ultron and blowing up cities, he basically is like, I need to be reined in. Captain America's like, that's your dumbass fault. I don't need to be reined in, so I'm not signing anything. And this causes the fight between them, which directly sets up for the events of Infinity War, where the Avengers, Earth's protectors, are split in half.
Yeah, and what I think when I think of this movie is it's basically what DC was trying to do. Batman versus Superman, which was just not that great.
Yeah.
But not to mention, it introduces T'Challa, Black Panther,
yes,
and Spider-Man.
More Seinfeld, yes, and Spider-Man, to the MCU. Love this film.
Guardians of the Galaxy comes in at number 3. We are down to the trifecta, people here. Our top 3 Marvel films. So Guardians of the Galaxy was obviously one of my favorites. This was really hard, a really hard choice.
It was. Like, we had the hardest time the last 3.
Getting to see Star-Lord, our introduction to him was amazing because he's just like a character that you love. This film was so much fun.
Andy Dwyer, Parks and Rec.
Yes. If you can't love Chris Pratt in his Andy Dwyer phase, you can't love him in his Star-Lord.
Come on.
That's basically.
Yeah, and like, how good was the film? The fact that people wrote this movie all. I remember reading all the trades, going online, watching the early pre-reviews before the movie dropped. Every critic said this is going to be Marvel's first disappointment, their first flop. They're like, they're making a movie about a talking tree and a talking raccoon who's going to
words.
Eat your words. It was the opposite. It was so different, so new, so innovative. Basically, they took Marvel films and combined them with Star Wars, another Disney-owned property now, and created this whole new cosmic adventure in the Marvel Universe.
And they really sold you with all the nostalgia.
Absolutely.
The mixtapes.
The music.
Wow. It's just eerie sometimes.
I know. Sometimes when we just like sync up, it's pretty cool. But much in the same way that by the end of the movie, the Guardians synced up as one unit. You see I brought that back around?
Yeah, very cute.
That's pretty good, right? Yeah, there it is. Black Panther lands in our number 2 spot. Now,
it was a hard decision.
It was hard.
We had an internal conflict,
yeah,
an external conflict,
yeah,
about how we were gonna.
But before you give us crap for it not being our number 1, hear us out. We love this movie. Obviously, the Pride, the Wakanda Forever, the Burn Away Africa.
Every time.
Every time. Obviously, this movie, it's still in theaters right now. It's racking up records. It is now the highest grossing solo Marvel film of all time, beating Iron Man 3. T'Challa, the Black Panther, inspired young brown children around the world. This movie, a movie like this had never been done before.
Primarily black cast.
Come on.
And, you know, it also touched
$200 million
on
black movie. Yeah.
Current social issues.
100%.
It was one of the, I'd say probably the deepest Marvel movie, the deepest Marvel movie.
Without beating you over the head.
Yes.
Like, even scenes where he's like, we need to watch out for each other as one tribe. It's not like preach, 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 preach. They managed to entertain you at the same time, bringing in socially conscious messages like Eric Killmonger, which him being literally African American, half African, half American, coming from the United States and basically saying, well, you know,
you're not helping your people.
Things aren't so good over there. What are you guys doing?
Let's talk about the Dora Milaje.
What?
So many badass women in this film. Not only are they warriors, you have Shuri, who is like a tech genius.
Come
it just
on.
really, like, first we have like the black superhero, but then we also have strong black independent women.
And I love that you brought that up because it's not just black people in general can sometimes get pigeonholed into the idea of like we're just physical, whether it's like from playing athletics or being good dancers. It's like the fact that they doubled down so much on, as you pointed out in our review, STEM, science, technology, information. Everyone in Wakanda not only is a badass fighter, but they're also on genius level intellect.
They're hella smart. And Marvel's The Avengers tops our list for the number 1 spot in the Marvel Universe films.
What?
Director Joss Whedon.
Yes!
Our nerd Jesus, who we worship.
The namesake of our show. Yeah.
He did what most people said could not be done.
Could not.
And he changed the movie industry forever by bringing all of these insane superheroes, these leading names together in one film.
Literally changed. Like, this is not hyperbole. This is not exaggeration.
I know we seem dramatic, but
we're
with
dramatic
good purpose.
Because, like, you know, it deserves to be dramatized.
Exactly.
Before Guardians of the Galaxy, people said that was going to tank. Avengers was the first movie that people were like, Marvel, this is where they're going to screw up. It is impossible to take 6 major actors, Hemsworth, Downey Jr., Samuel Jackson, Jeremy Renner, Scarlett Johansson. Hemsworth wasn't that big, but he's in the mix.
Basically taking a childhood dream.
Yes.
And making it reality.
And they did. And that's why, for those of you who are like, we can't believe Black Panther wasn't your number 1. Look, spiritually and pride-wise,
yeah,
Black Panther is our number 1.
Black Panther is like my favorite, like just emotionally my favorite film. But this one, I think it's just, it's like the most, for the Marvel Universe.
Yes.
It just meant the most. And it was like kind of it's everything that we've been building up to.
We got to see all these Avengers, 4 different franchises, pulled together for the first time. I mean, like, we can go on about this for hours, but this movie literally was a game changer.
All right, Scoobs, thank you for sticking with us as we went through 1 through 18 of the Marvel Universe. And again, so good to be back.
Yeah.
I really missed you guys. We wanted to bring you something special for my return, so we hope you enjoyed this.
I think I speak for all of the Scoobies when I say we did indeed miss you, Keller.
Oh, I missed wanted you guys to.
Yeah. All right. Well, just in time for Avengers Infinity War, make sure to check out our list. Let us know what your favorite MCU movies are in order in the comments below. As always, make sure to like, subscribe. Hey! Hit that bell for alerts of new episodes.
And make sure you share with your mom, your friend, your coworker, your buddy, because who doesn't want to join the Scooby Gang?
Exactly. Until next time, I've been Dre, and a returning
Alex. Just felt like that was necessary.
No, good. I felt it in my soul. Yeah. All right, gang. Stay groovy, Scoobies.